Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching All Angles. I'm Dion Jacksmiller. So we're going to be coming back in just a moment to the Acting Chief Education Officer, Dr. Kasan Troupe. Just to let you know that a little bit later on in the program, we're going to be getting some reactions from educators to what we're hearing from the ministry. So that comes up a little bit later. And as always, remember, you can tweet along with us. Our hashtag is TVJ All Angles. Thanks so much for staying with us, Dr. Troupe. Okay, so the ministry has said that when September comes, the first 3 weeks or so will be spent doing assessment. Now, everything I've read says that children who aren't engaged over a period of time, for instance, even the 2-3 months of summer, that they tend to regress. Much more the children now who are in fact not engaged at all or partially engaged. So when September comes and the assessment is done, what are the plans then to deal with the kind of wider disparities that we're likely to see in terms of the children's educational attainment?
Okay, Dion, so what we normally do with our education system, when our students are placed, they are normally placed on a pathway, and pathway 1, 2, and 3, and pathway 3 students are normally given some additional resources. So we have our student support pathway coaches. We normally give 2 pathway coaches to the high schools to treat with some of the learning deficiencies that they will pick up when they assess their students, or when they look at the profile that we would have advanced with the children from the PEP. In addition to that, we would have asked that some strategic actions take place as it relates to timetabling. So for those students, we ask that the class size should not be more than 20. So we ask for a blocking of the timetable for common core subjects, and we give additional teachers. So we'll give additional math, language arts, and science, and so the principals would request additional when they look at their groupings to make sure that these students can be served in smaller groups. So that kind of resource is available. Our coaches from the Ministry of Education, those officers that are assigned to the ministry, they are now deployed to these schools. So the assessment we use to determine which of the coaches will go to which school and how long they will spend in a particular school. The strategy that we have been using, if a school is particularly weak in terms of the number of students and how they are performing, the coach will spend up to 3 days working with the classroom teacher each week to make sure that we are responding to the gaps that we would have observed in those assessment reports to bring those children up to par. Given that we have COVID and some students will not be engaged as much as we would want to, we will provide additional resources. So if it is that we need more than 1 or 2 or 3 coaches, the ministry is willing and ready to provide that. Right now, our curriculum officers and our coaches and literacy specialists, they are now preparing instruments that will be used to determine how students are in terms of their readiness for the different levels in the school, not just for the PEP transition or for the grade 11 student, but all levels of students. We are preparing the instrument at our level to support the school, so that kind of technical support will already be available when we resume in September. So our teachers would not need to be writing these instruments, but we will be preparing them because we have the curriculum and we know how the students should be able to perform based on how the curriculum is designed. So those kind of instruments are being prepared and support that will be made available. And of course, we are preparing to deploy and to distribute the tablets in school, and we are also working with those communities that are now underserved to make sure that there's internet provision. We have just entered into a partnership with Ready TV, and Ready TV will provide digital internet through a satellite source to those communities. We have already signed a partnership agreement, and they will be addressing 100 communities as we speak. That kind of technical preparation is taking place.
Hold on for me on that one, because as you mentioned, we did hear that. Unsure about how that works though. Is it that they're going to provide a hotspot or a modem in the schools or Wi-Fi? How is that going to work?
Right, it's similar to like a hotspot. So it will be linked within the schools. We have been picking up information from our regional directors, especially in some communities where they are not very close to the schools, we are now identifying community locations that we can set up the devices so the children can access, even though they are not at school at this point in time. So that's a kind of data gathering that is taking place, and the setting up that is taking place from Ready TV.
But is the idea then, if we're talking about a hotspot, that the children would have to come to the environment of the school or wherever it is to access the internet?
Well, in the case of the communities being near to the school, they should be able to pick up the internet service if the device is set up in the school. In the case where the communities are not near to the school, we are going to be finding ID location. In recent times, Dion, we have partnered with one of our organizations that would have provided six hotspot services to our regional directors, and they have now been roving. So there are schools that are scheduled now to be online for a particular period of time within a day. Those schools that are not able to pick up on their own, we are now roving. So we have a vehicle equipped with that device, and we are going into those areas to serve those communities so we can reduce the gap that we are now experiencing. So we have been listening, and we have been making the partnership to try and improve as we go along. We really don't want to give up, Dion. This is a new normal. There's an opportunity for all of us to shift into the new technology and to make it work. So we know that we have been archiving lessons now, and those students who may not be able to access now, those lessons will also be available to provide enrichment activity. So they are archived and they can be accessed when those students resume, if it is that they are not able at all, regardless of what we have tried and now trying to access, those materials will also be available when we are able to resume.
So in relation to the roving, what is it, a roving truck or what is it? So
right,
it goes,
so we have a mobile, one of our school buses.
So it goes to the school. So is it that, for instance, school A, or it goes to the area? So school A, for instance, would be able to access between like 9 and 1 on a Wednesday or a Monday, Saturday.
Right, because remember what we have said, Dion, is that we are promulgating a mixed modality. So it is not prudent for the remote learning experience to be totally reliant on internet. We have got that feedback from Worldwide Experiences. So we have said, let us do a mixed modality. Hence, we have the television program. Hence, we have the radio program. Hence, we have the online programs. So, and we have the printed materials. So persons will now use that time that is given for that community to provide the feedback. So 2 hours of feedback following up from a lesson that they would have been engaged in on the television or on the radio. That's a kind of approach that we are promulgating, because it is very expensive to have a total reliance on internet, be it Wi-Fi or mobile.
Is it no? When we go back to school, is the ministry going to be looking at distancing, any kind of distancing seating requirements?
Right, Dion. So our planning division, as we speak, they are working out that for us, because we have to be guided by the Ministry of Health. You know, the directives are given as our Prime Minister meets with the country and brief us. So we are guided by the social distance recommendation. That information is being used now to look at how our schools are set up, how many students are in class, because we already have that data, and how we will now use that data to determine a rollout plan. So we have to be guided. We are not certain if things will improve in a month or 2, but we have developed different scenarios of resumption guided by the social distance policy.
All right. I guess some of that we'll have to take up with the Ministry of Health, because I've just been thinking of the average school environment, and it seems a little crazy that we're going to be talking about physical distancing in the classroom, and then so the minute them rush for the door, everybody will go bungle up same way. True?
Right. So it's a transition, and it's something, you see the adults at play now, Dion. In the public space. It's very difficult. It's something that we have to train our teachers, train our students, and that is why we have to look at even phasing in, if we have to, the resumption. So chances are not everybody will be in the space at any one time, and that is why we are so committed to improving the infrastructure as it relates to the telecommunication and the online devices, because we may have to rely on them going forward. So we don't want to stop what we are doing now, because there's merit and there are opportunities in this difficult time.
You mentioned training and remote teaching and teaching by internet. in fact, it's not the same as teaching in person. There are all kinds of strategies and disciplines that need to be taught. Are we putting in that kind of intensive training program for our teachers to be ready for that?
Yes, Dion. We have started the training program. Our National College for Educational Leadership, they have been developing the training program to be launched very soon for our principals, looking at remote leadership and instructional supervision from a remote perspective. Our Jamaica Teaching Council would have rolled out a series of training programs already. Our Curriculum Support Division, they have also been videotaping some training session that we will archive and that will be available. One-on-One has also partnered with us and they're providing some training. And another intense level of training will be done in very short order. We have just discussed a partnership with University Open Campus. They have an initiative in place already, training right over the region. So it's ready. So we just need to just finalize how we're going to roll it out for Jamaica to provide adequate support and certification for all our teachers.
What about, what are teachers using to access these materials? Because we've heard them complain that they have to be buying data.
Well, our teachers, as I said, would have been provided with some data grants from the Ministry of Education.
So they're not getting the money, Doctor. But let me ask you to hold on 1 second. Let me just go to the break, come back and let you respond to that. I want to ask you about PEP and CSEC as well. Dr. Kasan Troupe, All Angles returns in a moment.